So we are also recording this webinar. After this, I will send you a recording link and Karen's presentation, so you will have both of those. They will also be housed on our website, as all of our webinars are. And so everybody is muted except for Karen and I. We're the only people that are allowed to speak, and that's not a control issue. I've been accused. It is actually due to the fact that there's a lot of background noise, and so we want to make sure that everybody can hear. So type your questions at the bottom, and at the end of this webinar, there is a brief 2-question survey. Your input is so important, and I just can't stress that enough. We read every one of those comments, so please make sure to give us feedback and answer those 2 questions. It helps us to see what you need and how we can help you achieve some of your goals. So please make sure you take a few minutes to complete that survey. And so I'm about to turn it over to Karen. I'm going to be her slide turner today since we're having a little technical issue. So Karen, I want to introduce you, but okay, so you're a studio owner in Good Glazes, and you used to own Canvas Creek Team Building, correct?
Correct, I still own that, yes.
Oh, you still own that, okay. All right, well, wonderful. And you were, you've been a member of the CCA and very helpful and a great contributor to us with our team building guide. And at convention, it was amazing to see so many people with tears in their eyes after your presentation. There was good, happy tears. So you touched a lot of lives and changed a lot of people. So I wanted to give you a warm welcome and thank you for doing this today. I understand, are you at Cerama Jam right now?
I am, yes. I'm calling you from the Monty Belmont Lounge.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I will let you take over from here. So welcome, Karen, and thanks again.
Great. Laura, thank you so much for asking me to do this today, and I'm excited to hear that you and I can sing, and no one can argue with that at all. So shall we do it?
Perfect. Perfect.
All right, you guys.
I'm in.
All right. Kumbaya.
Oh,
so you guys, I love team building. If I could do team building 6 days a week, I probably wouldn't because I would be exhausted, but I just love team building. I think it's partly because I grew up in a large family in a small house, and we had to learn to get along right from day one. I also am the oldest child in the family, and so I kind of think that team building means everybody doing what I say they have to do. That's always worked out well for me. So we're going to talk about a couple of things today. We're going to talk about increasing sales with team building. We're going to talk about hosting versus facilitating, and we're going to talk about effective use of the guide. And I'm going to start, just by talking about me for a moment. This privilege that I have of owning In Good Glazes and Canvas Creek Team Building is really fabulous. I love that I'm surrounded by art all day, every day. In both settings, I get to help people create. I get them to do more than they thought they could do when they walk in the door. And In Good Glazes is where I got the idea for Canvas Creek Team Building. I was watching 2 people paint a cup, and I thought, that is never going to make us any money, and so I need to figure out how to get big groups of people painting together, and that's where Canvas Creek came from. If you're interested in that story at all, there is a TED Talk. So if you just Google Karen Grosz TED, you'll see that talk, and they'll tell you the whole story of it. But what I want you to know is that I don't think you have to be the best artist in the world to make money with art, and I don't think you have to be the best team builder in the world to make money with large groups of people with art. I think there are just limitless possibilities out there. So Laura, if you'll go ahead and switch to the next slide. I'll take a breath. I'm famous for not taking a breath as I go through a meeting. We are going to, as I said, talk about increasing the sales, and we're going to talk about hosting versus facilitating. I'm going to give you just some brief training on that, and then that team building guide. So let's go ahead and go forward. I should tell you that picture you're looking at was a whole bunch of bankers, and if you can make bankers look like that, you can take your money to the bank. It's a pretty good deal. Look at those guys. They are serious mortgage lenders, and I could tell you who the problem is on the team, but I did sign a note of confidentiality, so I won't tell you this girl in the front is kind of a witch. I just won't mention that. Okay, so she's not. She was good. So you guys, the idea of increasing sales with team building really is something that I assume you're embracing or you wouldn't be on this call. When I started doing team building in the studio, it was before I started Kansas Creek, and I realized right away that there were businesses out there who wanted to have a place where their team members could connect in a new manner, and that art gave them incredible opportunities to do that connection. So when we first started hosting people in our studio about 9 years ago, we charged them whatever the price on the shelf was. So if they were going to paint 16-ounce mugs, and at the time 16-ounce mugs in our studio were $13, we charged them $13, and we made sure they had a good time, and we laughed and giggled with them and patted them on the back and took their money and sent them out the door. As I developed Canvas Creek, I realized what an opportunity there was to give them an activity that really meant something to them. A lot of times we have them all work on each and every mug, or we have them all write words on mugs and do different things, so that when they leave, they're able to say how impactful that event was to them. And when that event has actual impact, for instance, if people are crying, you know that you've touched them in some way, good crying, like Laura mentioned. I always think if they cry, they buy. So that's my goal, is to touch people emotionally. If they are impacted by the event is no longer worth exactly the price of that piece. The event is then worth more money. And I find that there's kind of a target area for you. If it's going to be people who are kind of low-level employees, they're earning, in between minimum and $12, $15 an hour, companies plan to spend $20 to $40 on a team building activity for those people. And so I bumped our mugs up to $35 if they're going to come in and have an actual event with us. And $20 to $40, you usually, if a company calls and says, how much is it? And we've got $20 to spend, you usually can bump them $10 a piece if you just do a great description of that activity. So one of the things I like to say is, I want you to imagine your people all sitting around and enjoying, pardon me, I have a little cold, enjoy visiting with one another while they're painting their cups. And at the end of this process, I'm going to ask each one of them to say one kind word about every person in the room. And we're going to capture those words on that mug. After we fired that mug and we take it back to the office, people are going to hold that mug, and they're not going to feel not just the warmth of the tea or the coffee that's in that mug, but they're going to feel the warmth of the good feelings that their team members have for them. And so this event that you're scheduling is going to give your team constant affirmation and feedback for years to come. When you take a moment to have a conversation like that about a mug, now it's not worth $18. It's worth $35 because it's going to have impact for a long time. So when you think about talking about these events, think about talking about the long-term payoff. We call it ROI, the return on investment. People like usable things, and they like knowing that they're going to be able to use it for years, and that's ROI. So on the side, you'll see that I have 5,600 or 24,000. That's the sales in our studio 1 year apart after I instituted team building in the studio. And I will also tell you that, so it was August, and our worst August ever, we did $5,600 in sales. Smart women probably would have closed the sale, but pardon me, the studio, but I didn't. I dug in and said, holy cow, we got to fix this. What are we going to do? And we want to do this really fast. So I started team building in the studio, and because I own two companies, all money for team building actually gets paid to Kansas Creek. But this dramatic jump in sales from 5,600 one August to 24,000 the following August, that's because people would come into the studio, we'd do a fabulous event with them around team building, and it wasn't just paint a cup, it was paint a cup and here's some warm feelings that go with it. And people loved that experience, and so many of them said, I've never been in here before, and they would bring their families back the very next weekend. And you know, once people start coming into your studio, they're going to come time and again, and they're going to start talking about it. So by getting new faces in the building, we were able to talk to a new audience and increase our sales dramatically. So when you're thinking about working with a team, you want to figure out how you can do a great commercial without sounding like you're just doing a commercial. You want to make sure that they feel welcome into your space, that they understand that they can come during your schedule, and that they understand what value their family is going to get by being there. So it's a great way to increase sales. And if I actually were putting the team building dollars in that sale amount, it would be probably triple that. There's a lot of money that comes in because of team building. So the final question there is 805 versus 375. And I always think that as studio owners, we need to stop and think about what we're really worth. And if you're paying your staff minimum wage, that's fabulous, but you should not be earning minimum wage. You should be earning maximum wage. I like to earn $375 an hour when I'm working with a company. And so every activity that I'm doing, I ask myself, is this worth $375 an hour? It's not worth $375 an hour for me to be cleaning the bathroom. So I pay somebody $8 an hour to clean the bathroom, and I go to a chamber event or I go to a networking event so that I can see people and talk to them about the team building. I don't spend time in the kiln room for two reasons. One, nobody wants my happy, go fast self in the kiln room, but it's not where I get to see people and to actually bring more business into the building. So I want you to write down what you think you earn per hour now and circle that and look at that number and see if you're happy with that. And then double it and circle that number and think about that. And now double that again. So if you want to increase your dollars per hour to that number, what do you need to do to effectively bring people into your business? And you already know many of the answers to this, but I think the big ones are get out and talk to people about what you do and pay somebody to do the work you shouldn't be doing and bring some teams into your business because there are thousands and thousands of dollars. This is a $16 billion industry, and they might as well be sending it in your studio. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide, Laura. So here is the things that I was talking about, the event or the experience. An event is something that you go to. An experience is something that has the power to affect change. And when you affect change, that's when people are able to draw a line in the sand and say, before we blew bubbles together, this is how we were behaving. After we blew bubbles together, this is how we were behaving. You want to impact change in communication. You want to impact change in collaboration, and you want to impact change in celebration. Those are the three big things people will spend money for team building: communication, collaboration, and celebration. So a good way to know that you're offering an experience is to ask 3 questions before you make a comment. And I think this starts on the day that they call. When they say, we'd like to schedule a team building event, I always say, tell me what you would like to achieve with this team building event. Tell me about the person who is least excited about this event, and tell me about the person who's most excited about this event. Ask them 3 questions so you get to know a little bit about what's going on in their company. Ask them what their company is best known for, and ask them what they would like their people to talk about the day after the team building. And by asking 3 questions, you're going to load up your arsenal of information that you can feed back to them and offer them a great event. And I love to use 3 questions all of the time. I use this with staff. I use it with the waitress. Ask 3 questions before you make a statement. People will feel that you care, and you'll be able to make much more powerful statements. This last quote is something that my dad said one day. I was coaching someone, and many of you probably heard this story before, but I was coaching this person on the telephone, and I once in a while can be a little full of myself, and I think people should do what I say. I have a feeling some of you are like that too. But At the end of the conversation, I just kind of slammed down the phone and I said, she's not going to do what I said. And my dad, who is a logger and not necessarily the most educated man in the world, but one of the most generous people I know, he said, well, Karen, people aren't going to listen unless they ask to be told. And oh my gosh, that totally reshaped how I was coaching people. I realized I wasn't asking enough questions. So when a company calls you and says they want to do team building in your building, they don't just want you to tell them exactly what you're going to do and what it's going to look like. They want you to ask some questions so that you fully understand what they're expecting in that setting. And if they want an event, that's absolutely fine. I have somebody that called last week, and all they have to do for team building is leave the building. They can't stay at work, and all they want to do is come in and paint $20 ceramics together. I couldn't move them into an experience, and that's okay. I'm going to go on to the next team that does. But by asking questions, I knew that all they wanted was an event. So, Laura, let's go ahead and move to the next slide. So we're going to talk about the CCS Team Building Guide before I answer your questions. And the Team Building Guide really was fun to put together, you guys. I took some of the things that I do with teams and some of the things that my staff does with teams in the studio and put those together in this guide. I don't think you should offer every single thing that's in there. I don't think that you should offer those necessarily outside of the studio, but I think that you should look at one or two of those and say, oh, wow, this is really fun, and I want to be able to do this. One of my favorites is platters of communication. Because if a company calls and they want an experience and they were planning on spending $20 a person, if I ask them a few questions, I can move them up to platters of communication and get $60 or $80 per person, because now we're talking about communication and it's going to be a true experience. So we're going to walk through the guide just a little bit here in a few minutes, and I'll show you some of my favorite activities. But don't overwhelm yourselves. You have a lot to do. You have birthday parties to host, and you have staff to take care of. So just get to know one or two of these activities. So when that team building call comes in, you can just jump right on it and say, oh my gosh, what if we did this? And when you talk with authority, they're going to be more excited to do that event. So the other thing that you want to do is pick one or two of those activities that you think are really great and practice them on your family, practice them with your staff, practice them with your Chamber of Commerce or maybe your church group, whoever you think is going to send you teams. Practice with them and say, I am trying this new thing. I wonder if you would participate for me and give me feedback. Pardon me, and maybe give me ideas on who I should contact with this. People love to help you, and in letting them do these free events, you're going to build your confidence and be more ready to tackle it. So in that picture, you can see people are building towers. We do spaghetti and marshmallow towers. It's a fabulous TED Talk. If you just Google design spaghetti and marshmallows, you'll find a video on it. I love to get this one away for free. It costs nothing. People have a blast, and it gives me the opportunity to talk to them about doing real serious team building. So Laura, let's go to the next slide. You're a wonderful assistant, by the way. So before we go into the guide, well, actually, I guess we're going to do that at the end, right, Laura? We'll do questions at the end. Yes, we'll do questions
Sorry,
at the end.
I had you on mute because I am the worst at having background noises because the dogs bark constantly. I have the guide. I think if you want to go through the guide, we can do the guide now and show people what's in the guide and then questions at the end.
Okay, let's do that.
All right. So there's the front page.
So here's page number one, very exciting. This page talks a little bit about event versus experience and gives you some language to use with your potential clients. Let's go to the next page. And this is a little bit more about thinking about team building in your studio, what you should charge for it, and a great place to find teams. We could talk for hours about where to find teams, but be sure to look at that team finder. That's going to give you some ideas of brainstorming where you can go out and find people to do this with. Let's go to the next page, Laura.
That was one of
Oh,
the
go ahead.
questions, actually. How do you contact businesses to do a team building event? So would you want to touch on this a little bit?
I absolutely would. So my very favorite place in the whole world is the Chamber of Commerce, because you meet business people and they are there thinking business and they all want to make more business, and you have a way to help them make more money. So I think the Chamber of Commerce is great. Join one of their network groups, and don't think that the first day you go to that network group that you're going to land 3 teams for team building. You're not. It's networking, and you need to spend time getting to know people and having them get to know you. So it really is an investment of time and energy, but once the people in the Chamber of Commerce get to know you, they will help you build your business. So I think that would be the very best place that you guys could go. The idea of cold calling, holy cow, it is miserable and it is hard, and I actually hire somebody else to do it for me if I have to go to cold calling. So calling a company and saying, I do team building, I think that's tough. You're welcome to do that. But I think it's better if you think about all of your customers that you already know, and just listen the next time you're in the studio. And if one of them says, oh, I really hate my boss, gently say, we do team building. And when people say, pardon me, when they say cough, cough, when they say, we're going to be going to a team building event, just say, I just happened to overhear that. Did you know we do team building? And then throw out your favorite activity. Talk about it on your Facebook page. Talk about it with your spouse, with your friends. Just let them know that this happened. Now, if you really do want to dig in a little bit deeper and go talk with companies, another great place to go is the American Society of Training and Development. They have a chapter in almost every city. I did a talk with them last week and picked up 2 team buildings, and one is a long-term contract. So American Society of Training and Development, which is ASTD, and SHRM, Society of HR Managers. That's another group. They probably have a meeting in your town, ask to be a presenter, ask to go in and do an example of one of your events for them, and that will get you started with those teams. But mostly, I think, if you just listen and if you SEO your website, businesses are going to find you. So if that didn't answer the question for the person who was asking, send us another question and we'll help with that. All right, the next one is, can you do this? And yes, you can. And a part of that, yes, you can, is that you just have to have a mindset that I'm going to go make some money, and we're going to do it with team building. And you do it with a lot of confidence and a big smile, and nobody will ever guess that you can't do it. So let's go ahead to the next page. Here is a whole page on approaching businesses, what they're looking for when they contact you. One of the big things they're looking for is good English and no grammar errors. I am not an English major. If you follow me on Facebook, you know there's always a grammar error here and there, but I hire editors because it's worth it. Companies will not hire you if you have bad grammar on your business pages and on the pieces you hand to them. So get those pieces looking professional. Let's go to the next page. And the next page. So this talks about how to get discovered, like giving to charity events, getting in the news, doing presentations, marvelous ways to get your name out there. Let's go to the next page. I know you guys could all read this yourself, but hopefully I'll give you some tidbits here. Go ahead and go to the next page. Oh, I just have to tell you about this. This is called a box mural, and I do this every year at our biggest, it's called Community Connect, where all of the homeless people get to come in and find out about services in their town. Every year I'm on the news. Every year I meet the sponsors of this event, and we book so many team building events because we let people paint on boxes and we hear their stories and they're beautiful. So do a box mural and just Google that. You can figure out how to do it. Let's go on to the next page. And next page. And next page. This is a great one. I'm not going to spend much time here, but you should be good at debriefing. There is something called a thumb ball, And if you go to Amazon and say Thumball, there's one that is debriefing, and there's one that's conflict management. Those are great ways to let the team debrief for themselves so you don't have to jump into their crap. But you do want to say, what did you learn from this? How are you going to take this back to work? What always happens in this setting? But let those thumb balls, Thumb balls, ask those questions for you for debriefing. All right, next slide. Let's go to one more. We're going to get to a good one here. Bubble Up. Oh my gosh, you guys. So this isn't a painting ceramics activity, but it's a great way to get started in your studio. With Bubble Up, I give people a large bowl of bowl and a bottle of water and a bottle of dish soap and some straws and some Dixie cups. And I challenge them to blow bubbles. And they either are going to blow the tallest bubbles or they're going to fill the bubbles first, and they have to decide what they're going to do. It is an absolutely hilarious activity. When I worked with the HR group last week, the head of the training department, who is an absolute germaphobe and apparently never has any fun at all, jumped right in, and we have great pictures of him doing Bubble Up. And then he made an appointment with me to do team building for his team, all because we blew bubbles. And you know how to do this in the studio because you're painting with that already. So Bubble Up is a great get to know you, and it's a great kickstart to the day. Let's go to the next slide. Let's do one more slide. Mugshot. This is really fun. This is taking pictures of people, Googling their name and having a little slideshow of the things that you find. So, for instance, I have an employee whose name is Becky Middendorf, and every time I Google Becky, I've never figured out why, I come up with a house that is on fire, and she works in our kiln room, so we think that's pretty handy. So we put that in a slideshow. Everybody laughs and giggles about the different pictures of Becky, and it's just a good way for people to think about the impact of social media, but also to get to know one another in a light and airy way. And sometimes you'll find some really good works that they're doing. You do want to make sure you don't find mugshots because their boss might not know about those, so be careful of that. And I always send the mugshots to the HR rep that hired me before I put those in the slideshow so that they can approve them. All right, go ahead to the next one. Blue Plate Special. This is a marvelous one to get to know right in the beginning. This is for problem solving and resource management, especially if a company is going through budget cuts. We put a bunch of plates on the table, a bunch of blue paint, and some tools. And as the team is working through the process, we start taking more and more of those resources away. Now, what you're trying to gain here is that team is going to start working together and sharing their resources. But it's very interesting to see who will share resources and who's going to hoard resources. So Blue Plate Special is a great one to get to know and talk to your team about the importance of being conservative with product too. So let's look at one more, and then we'll go to questions, Laura. Full Cups is so wonderful. Full Cups is kind of what I described earlier, where everybody has a cup and they paint that cup for about 20 minutes and, put some little doodads on it. And then we pass it around and everybody paints one loving word about that person on their cup. At the end of this, we'll start with Laura. I'll stand by Laura. I'll put my hand on her back or her shoulder. Because I'm a toucher, you have to make sure that that's okay. But I'll say, Laura, this team thinks that you are dynamic. They think that you're funny. They think that you would be fun to have drinks with. They think all of these amazing things about you. And I just think it was so wonderful to get to know you in my studio today. Thanks for being here. Everybody's going to clap. Some of them are going to cry. We're going to move on to Bob, and we're going to, find all of the wonderful things about Bob. Full Cups, oh my gosh, this brings people back to your studio time and again, and they will not only do it with their coworkers, but they'll do it with their families. So it's a great activity. So Laura, let's go to questions now.
All right. Fantastic. I'm a little teary-eyed because I'm fun, and I love what you wrote on my mug. If you guys have questions, this guide has an amazing amount of information. If you have questions, feel free to type them in at the bottom, and we'll get to those. I just want to show you this guide is on the CCSA website. I remind people about this on a regular basis because it is such a great guide. And all the activities, everything we need here, I mean, down to, suggested music and things like that are on a lot of these. So I just want to show them a few more items in here. There's Tell Me, there's Pick and Slide, and let's see, there's Blind. And,
oh my gosh, Blind is fun, you guys.
For people who do not communicate very well. So this is a great team building resource here. I'm So Blue. Gosh, I forgot about some of these. Move It is in here. It's for diverse teams, like sales and IT. It's perfect for them. Platters of Communication, you touched on that a little bit earlier. What I love about this is, it talks about who it's for, the suggested who it's for, the goal, the objective, the music, the debriefing. As people put their own presentations together, and they can use right from here. So this is a wonderful resource for our members. Basic information. This is, and then here's Sabotage. So there's just so many resources in here. There's looking at this. You just have you have everything in here that anyone would need to have. This is that personality profile. This resource is something, if you haven't downloaded it, you need to go to our website and download it and start looking at it because there's just so much in here. So let's see. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them now, and Karen will be happy to answer those. I don't see any questions here.
Thanks, we did a great job.
Thanks. I guess we answered everything. I did put Karen's email address up on there on the site here for you. And if you have questions, I would assume that they could contact you if they digest this and have a few questions at the end after they get off of this and start thinking about it. Let's see, John has a question. What's your ROI per investment of your time?
Well, it's a great question, John, and it kind of depends on the team. So if I'm going to have a studio person who is working on this, I want them to earn at least 3 times their salary. So if I'm putting a $10 an hour employee on team building, I want that team building to bring in a minimum of $30 an hour in profit so that I pay for that employee. So you really do have to look at what it costs to run your studio and what the materials are costing. And I generally, if I have the opportunity to bid a project, I bid 3 times what I think actual cost will be. And that's just a rule of thumb. It's going to be different in every setting, but you do want to make sure that it's worth your while. And so in our studio, I don't do a lot of the cup team buildings. I really do focus on the big team buildings. So go back to what you want to earn per hour. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, do you close your studio for this, or do you do this in a party room?
Oh, wow.
What would you suggest?
Yeah, another really good question. Again, it depends on the team and the activity that you're doing, but I like to use team building to expand the selling opportunities in our studio. So I do as many of them as I can at 10 o'clock on Monday morning. The studio is closed during that time, so we're increasing the profits that building is bringing in during the day. Also, Tuesday afternoon is pretty quiet. So if I can get 25 people in the building, I'm going to devote chairs to those people, but I'm not going to close the studio to other folks. I just kind of put them in a section. So it depends on how your building is set up. We actually happen to have 3 spaces in our building. So we will put people in one of the spaces, and we hang paper over the windows and the doors, and we put team building in progress so that they get excited about what's going on, and that helps them to ask questions and think about their team building events. But you really do want to see if you can't expand your hours or do this off-site so that you're expanding, again, the spaces that you're making money in.
Great. We do have another question and a comment. Great job, Karen. You're very inspiring. And we already knew that, so it's nice to hear that affirmation. John wants to know, what kind of person or position are you targeting, like in the company for?
Yeah, I would like to say that it is always the HR rep or it's always the CEO, but quite often I find that it's a variety of targets. You should think about probably a 35 to 55-year-old woman is probably your biggest target for getting interested in what you do, but the person who is making the decision is the CEO. And so that generally is like a 44 to 60-year-old person, and both male and female, more often male, who are making those decisions. So you want to make sure that you don't sound too artsy. You want to make sure that you sound like you have ROI and that you really will take serious what they're looking for. But every once in a while, the team building happens because they have a 20-year-old employee who just happened to be in the building and they took the idea back. But it is that middle-aged person who's making the buying decisions.
All right. Let's see. John says, thank you. You have changed the way I think about this. They have a 500-square-foot room that will soon be making us more money. That's excellent. Perfect. That's wonderful. That's great, John. Well, we expect you to post some pictures and share some of your successes with the rest of the CCSA members. So wonderful. Good luck with that. I just want to, we're going to wrap up here. Just a few things here. Karen's email is up. It's Karen@canvascreekteams.com. If you have some questions after this, I'm sure she'll be happy to respond to you. And wanted to remind you this team building guide is on the CCSA website, so make sure that you are downloading that and taking a look at it. And also at the end of this, once we close out this meeting, I will send you all, it takes a few hours, but I will send you a recording of this presentation, of this webinar, and also a copy of the presentation. So make sure you check your email for that. And I'm sure it's a great idea and to share with your managers, your studio managers, your partners, that sort of thing, so they can help you develop your plan moving forward. So don't forget also there's a very quick 2-question, it'll take you just a nanosecond to do, survey at the end of this. So when you close out of here, we take that, and that helps us to plan future webinars that the CCSA host. And I wanted to thank you guys for all showing up today. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you for your support of the CCSA. And Karen, I can't thank you enough. You are just, every time you inspire me. So I greatly appreciate you taking your time and energy to share with our members today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to do this, you guys. Good luck.
All right. Well, you guys have a good day. You get back to Ceramic Jam. Tell everyone that I said hello. And thank you again. And again, in just a few hours, you will get a recording sent to you as well as the presentation. So thanks, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And I'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.